All right, happy end of the year, everybody. I told you I would be all caught up for 2025, and I have done it. It's going to be a longer one as I am ripping through the rest of my catch up and the last few days of albums. I'm pumped. I'm ready to go. I got one of my favorite beers. If you find this, La Fin du Monde, the end of the world. A lovely, lovely triple out of Quebec. And let's just... Ooh, all right. Let's get things started. First up, we got Fragments by Bonobo, submitted by Nick. And a really pleasant record. You know, I don't have a ton of in-depth critique of this album. And I think the thing that was important for me listening to it was I did listen to it right after I did the groove along with Chai. So we talked about electronic music, what it is, what it's supposed to be, and what it can do. And this fit into, I think, the category of vibes-based album. And I've learned, I accept. There's nothing wrong with that. You know, I don't know if this falls into the category of dance music. It certainly didn't really make me want to dance, but I enjoyed it. I thought it was really solid, a really good time, and yeah, nothing wrong with it, just didn't light me up. Unlike some of the albums we will get to. Here's a spoiler, here's a teaser to make you watch to the end of the video. Something in here gets a 10. Someone's getting a 10 tonight. Stay tuned. Moving on, we got AM by Arctic Monkeys, submitted by Jude. And, man. This is another one where I feel like the radio play, the popularity of it kind of detracted from it because it lost some of that freshness, some of that surprise that really comes with it. And especially having listened to this after listening to Whatever People Say I Am, That's What I'm Not. This just didn't hit the same way. You know, this felt a lot more produced, a lot more mainstream, a lot more, toned down, even watered down to make it a little more palatable for a wider audience. And, you know, that's not to deny that there's definitely some slappers on here. But Arctic Monkeys already aren't my favorite. And compared to Whatever People Say I Am, this just really didn't hit the spot for me. So... I'm not going to say anything wrong with it. Just, I guess, do understand the hype, but the things that are hyped about it, just don't get me revved, don't get me pumped up. So, AM by Arctic Monkeys is going to get a 6 here. Next up, we got The Gereg by The Who from Kyle, and this had been on my radar for a long time. Many of you may know that it'd be somewhat shocking if you were not aware that I can throat sing, and so I was quite excited to hear a Mongolian album involving throat singing, and you know, hey, it's what it says on the tin, right? This is a Mongolian album with throat singing and some metal influences. That being said, I was expecting more of a doom or like a black metal out of this than the power metal that we got. And, you know, that's fine. And I think that for me, the reason it popped in my head that way was, you know, throat singing does have, I think, some similarities with like growling. And I feel like it would be an interesting interpretation on that. But they decided not to go that direction. And while I'm still in the camp of I'd love to hear what that sounds like, this being what it was still a really fascinating listen, still a really good time, and yeah, one of a kind, unique. That being said, it is gimmicky. I don't know if that's offensive for me to say, but that kind of is the thing with it. You know, it's what if we throat sang with metal? And that's beautiful, truly. But because of that, it does come off as a little one note. I, don't hear a lot of sonic exploration. And I know what throat singing can do, what it can produce. And I just feel like they didn't fully explore that space. So, the Gereg, truly unique, Truly fun, very interesting listen, and it's going to get a 7.5 for those reasons. Next up, shocker for me, 925 by Sorry from Jake. No clue what this was going to be going into it. Was not expecting to hear a bit of Tropical Fuckstorm. That's really nice. I love them. You know I love them. So you get that. And the vocalist reminded me of another post-punk band, Dry Cleaning, that I'm quite fond of. And it blended together to be this nice, disconnected, melancholy spiel throughout. And boy, did I like it. I liked the instruments being absolutely drenched in distortion. Just apocalyptic in that sense. And that lit it up for me. That was great. I really enjoyed that. Almost as much as I'm enjoying La Fin du Monde. Give me an A-B choice of Sorry versus Tropical Fuckstorm. I'm taking Tropical Fuckstorm. But I get it. I do get the appeal of Sorry. I really enjoyed 925. And I think it definitely has a spot. It's unique enough to stand out from the other really fucked up post-punk that I like, or art punk even if you're willing to go that far. It stands apart from that, has a bit of a poppier feel. I definitely think it's more accessible than a lot of the stuff I love. But I don't think that detracted from it either. I just thought this was really solid, really cool listen, and I honestly, I loved it. So 925 is a 9. It is a 9 out of 10. Almost had you there. Moving on, we got the Frostpunk OST by Piotr Musial. Probably. That's probably how you pronounce his name. And look, Dom, I know you really desperately want to die of exposure in a northern wood. And boy, yep, I get it. I get it here. I have not played Frostpunk, but I know enough about the game to understand, this music totally conveys its themes. Shit's freezing and it's not good. Coal, not enough of it. Food, nope, not enough. Medicine, no. And those vibes do emerge incredibly well in this orchestral composition. That being said, I do feel like this would hit harder with the stresses of the game. This being a casual, off-to-the-side listen, it's lovely. It's beautifully composed and beautifully performed and has a lot of emotion in it, which is great. But separated from the context of the game where you're stressing about people dying in your city from natural causes or unnatural, I don't know that much about the game, I just feel like, it is an OST. It's meant to go with the game. It's meant to be a part of that experience. And on its own, I think it was still great. I think it was still lovely. But at the end of the day, it is an orchestral piece. And that's just something I don't often dip my toes into. So I'm not going to strike it for anything. So I think a 6. I liked it. I thought it was good. But I'm not going to go around listening to it on my own time, I don't think. Now we got Snake Monastery by Gaidra. And okay. We were talking about music that made me want to dance. This was music that made me want to fight. I looked it up because I needed to know. This is Neurofunk. And we're going to have an album coming up in a bit from me that was also described as Neurofunk. And I kind of see the similarities. That's an album, the one that's coming up, Floral Strobe, I love. I really do. And it incorporates a much different sound palette than Snake Monastery did. But holy shit, Snake Monastery went so fucking hard. Jesus Christ, they did not pump the brakes. And I loved that. I was hype. I was excited. I was joyous, gleeful even. Enraged. The bass was pumping. I had just earlier that day set up my my speaker system for my turntable. I played it over Bluetooth over that, and the bass kick out of that, tight. Very tight record, very fun record, groovy, intense. energetic, electric. I'm usually kind of like when it comes to like narration over the music, but like fuck, I want to fight the dragon. I want to be the dragon. Show me the goddamn mirror of fate. This was hype as hell. Made me really excited to explore neurofunk more as a genre, because when it comes to electronic music, this really did tick all the things that I want to hear and I want to feel out of it. So Snake Monastery, super solid, super good listen. Loved it. It's a 9 out of 10. Not yet. Next up we had Yukari Telepath by Coldheart of the Deepers from Evan, and wow, this was a variety show of an album, a very, very diverse album, and that was well to its favor. I have said more times than any man should have to say that sometimes Japanese rock can sound very, very similar to each other. And there were times this did, but it gets a pass because that opening track, I thought I was in for a fucking metal record, and I wasn't, and I was a little disappointed by that, but what they brought to the table was a really good record. Always a different sound, always a different feeling and tone that they were exploring. Really never got stale, never got boring. Always a surprise around the corner, and it worked. It worked for them so well. There was enough tonal cohesion and instrumental cohesion to really hold everything together and make sure it was, doing what it needed to do and still being a good album through and through, not confusing me, not throwing me too far off the beaten path. And, that was a really nice balance to switch things up so much, do so many new things, try so many new things, while also being consistent and cohesive enough to feel like one project and not really a mixtape. So I liked it. I liked the performances. I liked the composition. There were, by the nature of it being a much more diverse album, there were definitely highlights and lowlights. I can't name them off the top of my head, but they were there. And yeah, really solid work. So I'm going to give Yukari Telepath an 8. Scrolling down. Give me a moment. Scrolling down. Taking a sip. Ooh. So I'm doing some housekeeping while I'm doing this. All right. I got a few more. We have Dive by Tico from Evan. It's Tico, man. What do you want me to say? It's good. It's good lo-fi. It's, hip-hop to study relax too. Everyone kind of likes that, And that's what this was. I can't fault it. I think it was produced immaculately and put together in an immaculate way. But at the end of the day, by the nature of what it was trying to be, it's just not exciting. But it's good. It's not trying to be exciting. It's trying to be chill. It's a super chill album. Super chill vibes-based music once again. That's kind of Tico's thing, right? And he has truly mastered that image. He has truly mastered that sound. So, burpee, sorry. While I don't have a ton to say about Dive, it's good. I like it. It's, it serves a purpose. It is utilitarian music. When you need lo-fi beats to study / chill / relax / work to, instead of throwing the hip-hop girl from Japan on, throw Tico on. And you'll enjoy it more, I think. Oh, it's 8 out of 10. 9%. 9%, by the way. 8 out of 10. Next up we had Underbelly by Kiltro, and Kiltro is I feel a little left out, honestly, guys, from all the positive reception on Kiltro. Don't get me wrong, I liked it. I thought it was good. I thought it was fun. I thought it was solid, and I really, really appreciate what Kiltro is, taking Chilean folk music and making a hodgepodge out of it, bringing in a bunch of different influences and genres. That's really cool. That's really sick. but thus far has not blown my trousers off. I would like it to. This is something that I think would be really cool and really fun, but it just hasn't tickled me pink, as they say. Now, Underbelly, compared to the other Kiltro record we had, I got my spreadsheet open. Let me see what the other one. Other one was Creatures of Habit. Compared to Creatures of Habit, I liked Underbelly more. A decent amount more, actually, even. I thought it was just a bit more interesting in its composition and performance. I thought it had more energy and more emotion, captured me a little better, and I liked it more. But again, it just, I'd see him in concert with friends. Don't know if I'd go alone. Put it that way. So, Underbelly by Kiltro, giving it a 7.5. Next up, Raising Your Voice, Trying to Stop an Echo by Hammock. Lo-fi post-rock. It's good. It's good. It's, I think, lacking identity. It's taken all the components of post-rock, of ambience, of the sound it's trying to create, but it feels a little soulless, if I might go so far. All the pieces are there, and they're put together in a very nice way, but I just don't hear an identity in it. I don't hear a personality. Godspeed You Black Emperor. Swelling orchestral blooms throughout. Tortoise. Funky, even. You got that vibraphone clacking away. Excellent. Swans. Booming. Drowning. Suffocating. This is fine. In some respects, it reminds me of something like Explosions in the Sky, or If These Trees Could Talk, which are good. They are good. It is still post-rock. It is still a genre I deeply enjoy and appreciate. But even those, I felt, had more stuff. This, I felt, just lacked highs and lows. It lacked peaks and troughs. And it was certainly one of the more downbeat, chill post-rock albums I've listened to. And it might just be that my expectation of post-rock is to have those ups and downs, and this left me wanting ups. It just felt all downs. And maybe because my expectations were subverted, it just didn't land with me. But at the end of the day, I think it was still really well put together, really well composed, thoughtful. And so I'm going to give Raising Your Voice, Trying to Stop an Echo, a 7. All right, I'm up. In the Court of the Crimson King by King Crimson. I was so excited because I finally got my record player up and running, had this on vinyl, pulled it out. Ugh, gorgeous, man. It sounds gorgeous on that thing. Been quite a while since I listened to this in its entirety. Didn't change a thing. Every song is so unique, so well developed, and so well performed. The album is cohesive yet diverse. You're jumping between 21st Century Schizoid Man, which I don't know if I've ever heard a song with a more fitting title. Like, that is exactly what this sounds like. You have that immediately followed by I Talk to the Wind. Flute abound. So different. And then straight into Epitaph, which is honestly really brutal for something that came out in 1969. Just the versatility that King Crimson brought to this album, especially considering when it was made, is mind-boggling. Such an influential album that is so well done, deserves the praise it gets. Just a phenomenal one. Just phenomenal. So, in the Court of the Crimson King, I've licked my own balls enough on this one. We'll call it a 9. Next up, we got A Symphonic Celebration by Joe Hisaishi. From Kyle. Look, man, it's Ghibli music. It's Ghibli music. It's good. It is good. And this is going to be short because it receives the exact same criticism that I handed out to the Frostpunk OST, which is it belongs in a Ghibli film. Okay? The songs can definitely stand on their own, and I'm sure performed live, oh, that's got to be beautiful. That's got to be amazing. But they're meant to be in the movie. They're meant to be a set piece for the story that's unfolding. Joe Hisaishi is absolutely a remarkable composer who is incredibly talented at his craft and is capable of making very emotional and memorable songs. But he does it for a reason. He does it to elevate a different form of art. This is still good. He's still a great composer. And of course it's going to be performed well. It's the fucking London Philharmonic. Okay? You're not going to get much better than that in terms of quality of performance. It's just on its own. It's on its own, and it was never meant to be on its own. Okay? Live, this has to be incredible. This has to be a beautiful, beautiful night. But just kind of sitting there listening to it, it's quite good. Contemporary classical music. But there are holes. There's a piece missing, and I know exactly what it is. And I just told you. A Symphonic Celebration belongs in a movie. Still a 7. We got Bounce Into the Music by Siamese from Jake, and it's not for me. What is his accent? Is he Israeli? He sounds a little Israeli. Yeah, this is felt like 2010's pop from the back rooms, just something that definitely fits the aesthetic, but you've never heard before and does sound slightly alien. I don't know, didn't interest me, didn't engage me really. It was new, but very, very much related to, I guess, other works that I've heard from that era. You know, I'm not going to go so far as to, like, compare it to, like, Imagine Dragons. I don't even think that's a really fair comparison. But just, like, you know, pop with a little bit of rock in it, and it just really didn't do much at all for me. Yeah. Bounce Into the Music is a 5. Bringing us to New Year's Eve 2024, and today's album, Nahvalr by Nahvalr, also known as Have a Nice Life. Dan Barrett and Tim McCouga back at it again. Thank you, Dom. Now, Dom was not aware of what this album actually is, and while listening to it, I thought, what is this? Because while there are certainly similarities to Death Consciousness and Giles Corey, this is so much heavier. And you have to wonder, what the hell happened here? Looked into it, and I found out right away. This, Nahvalr, is the world's first open source black metal record. Now, what they did is they made a listing online, essentially calling all brutal metal, brutal music makers and saying, hey, if you have demos, if you have just like sound bites, pieces of you recording yourself, send them in. And they got thousands of submissions, and they mixed it into this. Which, outstanding, well done, conceptually amazing. Love that idea, love that they went for that and tried that. And then to get this out of it, okay, all right. Oh, noise heaven, man. Brutal, so incredibly brutal, so soul evaporating music. Oh my God, it felt like it. This, I have heard a lot of music in my life that I have described as suffocating, but nothing like this. Like, holy shit. And when I describe something as suffocating, like Swans or like Daughters, you know, it's drowning. It's drowning music. This is asphyxiation music. Somehow the air gets heavier and denser, and it feels like I am asphyxiating on something like sulfur hexafluoride. just wild what they're able to do with these disparate samples. The opening track, these are the sounds of hell, that build up and then the release into just a pure wall of noise and hellish screeching. Holy fucking shit, man. Unbelievably good. Getting into like mid-track, Objectivity, one of the shortest off the album. That might be my favorite noise song I've ever heard. Crushing. Just incredibly brutal, incredibly dense, loud. I turned my volume way the fuck up within like 5 minutes. And oh my god, it paid off. This was incredibly brutal. And Dom, I know you're not the biggest fan of noise in this world, but god damn it, I am. Okay? And you did it again. You did it again. And you found an album that I fucking love. Brutal, crushing, dark, noisy, loud, chaotic, but never upsetting. Well, upsetting. Let's be real. It was quite upsetting. Loud, but never in a way where I didn't want it louder. This album hurt me, and I want more. I want a lot more. Nahvalr by Nahvalr, Dan Barrett, Tim Makuga, Dominic, Rupert. It is a 10 out of 10. Happy New Year, everybody. I will see you next year.